Alright, welcome back to another devlog. This is number 52. I'm happy to report that this is the 52nd week, which means I've officially put in 52 weeks, which is 1 year into this project. That's one solid year, 40 hours a week, and no vacation days for 52 weeks in a row. And now I can kind of see how far that will actually take me as far as the amount of work I can do in that amount of time. So, this week in review, once again, here is the total scope of our first level. You can see it's grown quite large after about 3+ months of work. This is getting quite large to where the actual Unity can't really handle everything going on very easily in the scene view. It's kind of starting to frame out now. So what we'll do right now is we will just focus in on the areas that we worked on today. So here are the areas I worked on this week. I started off by finishing up this first room as you come off the elevator. I added this area here according to the prototype and decorated, kind of branching out using some of these hologram signs here. We have this little area, side area blocked from view, and then centrally we have like a reception desk area with more hologram stuff. And this front area guarded by turrets and guards. You're not supposed to go out there. This door is locked, security camera, and I added a little bit of something there just to fill out the room. I then went to this hallway here. This is a basic hallway, so nothing too serious about this. And as soon as Unity comes back here, yeah. So this hallway, standard hallway, creative decoration, no problem. This room, smaller room, same thing. Just kind of decorate as usual. And then the stairway down. This stairway is actually pointing in the plus minus Z direction instead of the standard plus minus X that I've been working with. So there's a little bit of a difference there in setting up the scene transition, but I'll talk about that later. And then the second hallway here, according to the prototype, again, designing just the hallway, and then this hallway extends in the Z plus position down, and then the opposite we have another room. This room, decorate, fill up with props and stuff, and it connects to, actually, originally it would connect to a stairwell, but that didn't really make sense because this stairwell would actually connect down to the very first floor, and since we're on like floor 4 right now, that would be a huge stairwell. So I decided to actually copy over the elevator, and this is intentionally to be locked. And it's almost like a dev route where you can actually skip all the stuff in between from floor 1 to actually floor 4 or something. But maybe I input that, like, I don't know, my original idea was to have some way on a second go around of the level where you could actually skip all the intermediary content and actually get to that down to the end of the level here. But anyways, this scene is intentionally the end of the level, this final room here, but you can't actually get to this final room per the design. You have to actually traverse down these stairways until into basement number 2. Talk about that later. and then come out the other side from basement 2 on this side with a key in order to access this final area here, which was filled out as part of last week's work. And this is the room, the final area room here, where it's somewhat of an exterior room, but not, it's actually an exterior room like the other one, where it's not actually open to the sky, it's not raining. So I used a different staircase here, like a square staircase that kind of spirals up, and a lot more of the same with the vertical layouts, just molding it like clay, and you know, kind of designing it in a way where it sort of follows the original design route. So a fair bit of work in this area, and then having like recessed areas with the pipes and the red lights, and this whole kind of bridge thing. I thought it was a good idea here. You kind of cross over, and one connects together, so there's like a linear route that you go through here, and then you eventually end up to this open area here. And the neat thing about this area, it's more of an area where you can run around in circular, and you're kind of, during this sequence, I think you kind of want to interact with this button. It'll open up this door and let the ship in, as you saw in the demo. I might demonstrate just that part, but anyways, this will open up and the ship will come in. In fact, I think I can actually, if I could just play this right here, I can actually show you what happens when you run it, if things don't fall apart on me. Okay, I got it sort of working here. So you can see the door opens and the ship comes in here. So this room here is interesting. I don't know what that blue light's about, but on Friday I took the time to actually go into my VFX package and see if I had anything that would kind of, because the ship was just floating here. It had its own animation, but I didn't think it looked quite right without any sort of like VFX like propulsion to keep it defying gravity. So I went in and looked at my VFX package and kind of figured out maybe what I could do to add some VFX around here. In the meantime, I was working with it to fix it up because there was some cool VFX in there. I thought maybe I could apply one to my character where you could stand here and maybe take like a portal or something. Like you can kind of like Star Trek, where you disappear, you kind of, you know, dematerialize. So there's some cool things, but it has its own caveats. It works with skin mesh renderers, some of them, but there's only 2 of them. They're limited. They're not quite run. There is one that I want to use, but it only works with that actual static mesh. So, and then the skin mesh renderers, it has a lot of caveats. My character controller has it's very complex, where it has multiple skin mesh renders, and I don't think it'll quite work right with their system. So I probably, in order to do that, I probably have to freeze the character and make it a static mesh pose in order to apply that VFX effect to a static mesh. Otherwise, it'd probably take a little bit of work. But for now, I just I took one of these VFX, sped it up a little bit, changed the dimensions, changed the color, and then attached it to the ship, and added a little bit of a script to kind of make sure that it kind of rotates slightly for a very subtle effect. But I think overall it achieves a nice look, you know, for the propulsion of the jet engine. So so you'll interact with this here, and it'll open the door, and you'll fly in, and then you can interact with the ship to escape or whatever. But in the meantime, there's kind of a timing thing where maybe you're supposed to like defend this area. Eventually, I was able to finish up this room. I was happy with the final result, you know, adding these walls, adding a lot of different decorations and stuff, and designing the paths, and in conjunction with the enemy player patrols. So it came together pretty well for the final room, and so that was scene 3, all taken care of. The actual final area here. So this is the final area here. I began this first hallway section, and this is coming to the end of the week. So I finished up the second to last scene, and this is the very final scene of the level. So we're closing in on the very last bit of work for the level. And this was a little bit different, where the actual staircase is extending in the -Z and vice versa on the other level, but mostly the same process that I followed before. A little bit of it's always a little bit finicky actually ironing it out, but I was able to get it done where the transition actually works from level to level in a staircase. And then again, following the process just for the short hallway, no problem. Standard process like I usually do, kind of deciding the look and feel and how I want it to look, and just kind of creatively doing my thing. And I ended on this this first part of this room here, and so this is still a work in progress. There's a lot to be done, just like the main room. This area is kind of a two-part area, where you got the hallway here, this first area where you have to like get past and open up this kind of gate here to access the second area, and then there's an off room where you get the loading dock key, and then you come through here and exit back up like I was talking about before. So I was able to lay, so this scene is actually relatively small. I was actually able to lay out the rest of the floors, the unfinished floors for the level. As you can see, that's not too bad. It's not too large here, but these are just rough areas that need a lot of work. So I'm bringing this room up to grade, and then it'll be this room, this side room, and this hallway, and that is it for the level. As far as level construction goes, what I'll have to do is a level run through, which means start at the beginning and make sure everything looks right, no prefabs are broken, all the way since I started building it. I'm sure there's a couple things wrong as I've changed things in the inheritance hierarchy all the way through, but I figure one more week I should have this level wrapped up, and then I will have the production grade level from the prototype, from the specification, actually in Unity. And this has been a work in progress. I think we're going on like 3+ months now of actually, from a simple design here all the way to actually a working environment inside of Unity with 80% pass of detail props within it. So a lot of darn work, and only time will tell with the gameplay will determine what size of content the level is, and how many of these things I need to construct for the game to actually meet a satisfactory content length. But that's the very first level, and it was just, I'll be glad to actually take a break from level construction, because I've been at this for 3 months, and it just gets very mind-numbing after a while. So, that said, that's another week in the bag, one more week to go, and I'll finish the level. And like I said in the beginning, this is 52 weeks, one whole year. And I was starting to make a year in review recap video, kind of going through each and every, each one of my 52 videos that I've made so far, and just kind of summarizing it in a few lines. But even that compilation I'm up to like week 22, and the video is like 40 minutes long. So there's just so much there. I don't know if anybody would be interested in that. They'd probably wouldn't. Nobody would probably tune in for all that. It's just like I just roughly gloss over it. I guess it's for my own interest to kind of figure out, you know, kind of account for like all the time that I've spent in this project so far, you know, and kind of for my own review. But I always have these videos if I really want to go back and see. But it's nice to be able to just kind of account for, like, yes, in this time of a whole year, you have gotten a lot of stuff done, you know, and it's just kind of refreshing my memory to say, yeah, this wasn't a wasted year. You put in 40 hours a week, you know, for 52 weeks, and you have a lot of work to show for it. So we'll continue on, and 1 year down out of the 4-year scope, this is what I have so far, and we'll just keep going until either the economy changes, I get a job, or 4 years passes and I have a very nice working product that I can release to Steam. You know, either way, I'm not wasting my time, and I'm not going to change career paths and become a plumber or something. So that said, I will leave it there, and we will pick it up next week and talk to you later. Thanks a lot. See you later. Bye.